Action.
Action.
Hi, Mom. All right, a little bit of background. Jeff Lynne in 2012 did the Spartan race, the sprint. He's the original gangster. And it's in Indiana. He did that. In 2013, Ryan and Dan Casilli decided to do it. And I joined up in 2014 after they'd made the team Dark Horse. Truth in advertising. I am not a 40-year-old Spartan. I'm 46 years old. And revealing my age is going to seem pretty minor by the time we're done with this, so sit back and enjoy the ride. This is kind of what we're going to talk through, just some basic points. Like I said before, if you're having trouble reading this, I'm not going to read directly from the slides. That becomes pretty boring and excessive, so if you want to get closer, now would be the time to do it. And actually explaining what obstacle course racing is going to be a minute 20 video. I hope it's not too ghetto. It plays well and it doesn't play well depending on the time of day I do it. But you can see some of the obstacles here and hopefully some music. Oh no, wait. There's some great music in it, but we're not gonna be hearing any of that today. So if you know the song in your head, it's time to dance. Yes, there are bands. And there's beer. I've tested it. They've never run out of beer at one of these events.
Beer is best consumed after the race.
Exactly. I have not consumed any beer before a race yet. Oh Lord, no.
So you're going to do the beer mile while you're doing this?
No. That is the obstacle course race, and it's a fairly shortened version of it. One thing to keep in mind for the Warrior Dash, there is no penalties. If you get up to an obstacle and you look at that and you say, I'm not feeling it today, just run past it. You'll get it next year. You'll get it next year. If anything in there really concerned you, besides the guy on stage in the cheerleader outfit, just pass by it. EAP's around for the guy on stage, so. Next. Really? Oh, Lord. All right. Why I do what we do. If you look at the back of my shirt, the gold hand is my wife, Carol. The green hand is our son, Daniel. And believe me when I say, they've pushed me through. So that's kind of why their hands are out there. And then the other part is just, nobody really knows how many haircuts we've got left at the end of the day. So what you really want to concentrate, what I really want to concentrate on is what kind of memories I create between the haircuts. I've got some slides here that show you the kind of memories that I've really enjoyed creating. This is Dark Horse 2014. This is the Spartan Sprint down in Laurel, Indiana. There's one guy missing, and that's Eric Cooley. So he came in right about the time our wave left. Ryan, how many round trees are in this here?
4. Oh. Related?
So you've got Bill, Ryan's dad, Lindsay, Ryan's wife, and Ryan's here, and then Jimmy. So it's kind of a family affair. This is before the race. This is after the race. If I look like a wilted flower, it's because I am indeed a wilted flower. Dan's looking pretty good there, but you know, that's Dan. He's a decade younger than I am anyway. Picked up Patrick Foley. I'm going to tell you this joke because we've already told Patrick and he laughed about it. We picked up Patrick Foley, we traded out Eric Cooley. And Nilesh Mutta, who's out in California now, he was working here for a while in IT. He's doing these out in California, so he's really had a good time with it. You might notice here I don't know if you recognize him, but the guy with the hat's Jeff Hunt. That's part of the swag that you get. You also get a t-shirt and beer. Did I mention beer? You get a free beer when you enter these things. This is the most recent one we did. This was a really long one. It was a couple weeks ago in Ohio. This was the Beast. It was 14 miles long. I may have my facts a little bit incorrect on this one, but Nick Cage found us on Facebook, and I think he called Bobby. He said, I've heard of you guys. You're kind of a big deal. So we let him race with us. And the other thing that you might notice about this is one of these things is not like the other, okay? So the 3 people on the right finished the 14 miles in 5.5 hours. I did it in 7. So as I'm kind of fond of saying, a finish is a win. Win or lose, we booze. Booyah, dark horse. So I was pretty proud of that. This really is a gas. I mean, it's hard to imagine it in a conference room off the cafeteria, Stanley Black and Decker here, but you really do have a good time. The costumes are pretty outrageous. I was at the Rugged Maniac, which is down at Paoli Peaks in Indiana, last year, and I was kind of looking through my waiver and making sure I had everything right. I didn't notice 4 guys in front of me that were dressed as Daisy Duke, and including the shorts. I think you're probably picking up what I'm putting down here. So I looked up to pause forward. It was like but we're in Paoli Peaks, and there's a beautiful valley out here. And it's so lush and green. But there's a train wreck in front of me, and you know how train wrecks go. Yeah, it's hard to look away. What is X to Y and by when? I had a boss at one point that said, look, we're always going to see where we're started from, where we want to be, and we're going to have a time frame on that. So kind of my personal fitness goal is the X to Y and by when. Now here's some audience participation. This means I'm comfortable if you expand this picture of you on the X. This means I don't really want to call the Employee Assistance Program and do any counseling about what I'm going to see. So if you're doing this, it's time to close your eyes. All right. December of last year, we'll say, a good friend of mine here at work ran into me out in the shop at one point. He goes, it's something. You can wear jeans every single day. In your position, nobody busts your chops. You can wear jeans whenever. Had a hard time. I didn't admit this at the time, but the truth of the matter was I couldn't fit into anything except my jeans. So though today be a casual day, I'm wearing slacks again. If you do have your eyes closed, you can open them right now. So let's get off the X. This is Y guy. And what I find amazing is, a change in hairstyle can literally take 27 years off your appearance. A little bit about Y guy. Y guy is 48 pounds lighter than X-Man. And in the morning I'd stretch. I'd sit down on the floor with my legs in front of me and literally fold myself in half, rest my forehead on my shins, and could doze like that. But after I got done stretching, I could do handstand push-ups, 12 to 15 of them, and then my day started. So, effing indeed. Effing indeed. The when is September 10th. That happens to be the date of the Warrior Dash, the next one. Here's the important part. How do you get involved? First and foremost, talk to your doctor. We're all sensible people here. We're not kids anymore. Make sure that you're cleared for this. My doctor actually said, here's what I want you to do. Eat 180 grams of protein a day, which is not easy to do, but it can be done. The last time, Rob, you gave one of these, you talked about you were doing I love this. You were doing a triathlon, and you were doing it on like your recreational bike, I think, maybe a mountain bike.
Yeah.
Now I know there were dozens of people that passed you on bikes that were made of unobtainium and costuracium, all that sort of thing. They still, and that's fine. You're having a great time at it. One of the dark horse guys for the first race, or maybe the first race in 2015, went to Goodwill. He didn't have any gardening sneakers that he didn't mind throwing away. He bought some Goodwill sneakers and ran a race in those and then donated them afterwards. And the other thing is movement. You saw all the people seem to be running in the video. Look, run if you can run. If you can't run, walk. Or jog, rather. And if you can't jog, walk. And for that 14 mile we went through, I convinced myself if I couldn't walk, I was going to crawl. I was going to jump over the fire at the end of the race. That was going to happen. And then weights. Your own body weight is a great weight to work on. Push-ups, sit-ups. If you got a milk jug or two at home, add water to them. Maybe add sand to them. It's a little heavier and dense. You can try burpees if you'd like to try burpees. They're painful at times. And then the other part's in the head. I mean, it's like anything, I guess, in life. 50% of it is in your head. I was at a race, I think it was actually the Warrior Dash in 15 or 16, and there was this A-frame. It was about 30 feet high, and you had to grab a rope, and then there were 2x4s that you could kind of help use to climb. There was a guy, and there was a whole crowd of people that were trying to get on this. There was a guy on the far right side. He was probably my age, maybe about my fitness level and everything. He'd gotten all the way up, and then he stopped. He froze. Couldn't get over the A. Couldn't get over the peak. And it took him about 20 minutes, and I know that because there were a lot of people waiting to get on this. Eventually, he got it through his head that he was going to get over it, and he did, and there was just a roar of cheers that came out from the people below. I mean, it's a very encouraging crew of people that do these sorts of things. I will say, in preparation, the more you train, the less likely you are to get injured, and the quicker you recover, and I think the three of us found that out after the really long one over in Ohio. Unlike what I did, and what a lot of guys I know have done, I would not start with a Spartan sprint that's 5 miles long. They do have burpee penalties. If you skip an obstacle or can't do it, you do 30 burpees. Warrior Dash is coming up in September. It's 4 months away. Just from a show of hands, who's already signed up? Okay. Raise your other hand if your spouse has signed up with you. If you have any children, raise a foot. Okay, cool. If you have more than one children, stick out your thumb. We only have one child, so it's just the three of us. But if you've ever been curious, the kind of daring woman that would sign up for a life with me and what our offspring might be like, you have an opportunity to meet both of them September 20th.
Is your wife doing training?
Yeah, give or take. A little bit, I'd like to see her be able to walk like 4 miles, and she's not doing any strength training, but she already knows I'm going to walk it. And this is the last one of the season that we're doing, and I've told her I will walk it with you. And we've got some neighbors of ours that the husband and wife have never done one of these before, and their 13-year-old is coming. So, if Daniel wants to do it with him and Jared, if they, all three of those guys want to scuttle off by themselves, I'm fine with it. So, thanks for your time. I mean, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it.
How's it on your knees?
What's that?
How's it on your knees?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting thing. Part of the reason when I talked to my doctor, he said, you're arthritic in your right hip. And, so stop running, stop jogging for exercise. I do Nordic track and recumbent bike. I don't think it's that bad on your knees. I mean, it's the jostling motion that's going to really, Some of the obstacles, on the last race, there was like a 9-foot. The last one we did that's not this hard at the Warrior Dash, but the ones we did was there was a 9-foot and maybe an 11-foot wall. And there's plenty of ways to get over those, and people will help you do it. Coming down on the other side, of course, there's a bump at the end. But I don't find it particularly difficult on my knees.
The mud, the dirt trails, it's a little more forgiving than a road.
Right.
Although you do have to contend with roots and rocks and all that other stuff too, so it's a little bit away. But be twist something, but it's easier on your joints as far as like the overpound.
And in terms of equipment, I've got trail shoes
Yeah.
that I believe a lot of them have this, but I think this one does too. It's got a thin sheet of steel in the bottom, so that stuff doesn't come up through it. And the tires are like off-road ATV tires. I mean, they're not the tires, the tread. They're really thick, and they really help get through mud and uphills and things like that. But that's not a necessity thing. I mean, compression sleeves, socks, you can get all those sorts of things too, and they help, but they're, again, not really necessary. I do have a packet, and actually there's one for each pretty much. I got 7 of them. It's the 2 articles that came out of the journal. My dad's retired, he's got a lot of time to serve the journal. So 2 of those came out. And then the diet that I've pretty much been following more or less is in there. Plus, if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm pimping the Warrior Dash pretty hard, so there's some Warrior Dash information in there too. And I can email this link if you guys are interested. Hit me up with an email. All right.
Thanks, Bruce.
You're welcome.
Very nice, thank you.
You're welcome.